Mesdames et messieurs, je suis Pascal, and this is another edition of Peptalk UK TV. And this morning we'll be talking about the fight that took place recently between Greco and Amir at Liverpool at the Echo Arena. It was a very entertaining fight. I must say that Amir showed, a lot of nervous energy during the first opening rounds, but it was very effective. He landed some very, very good shots. The hand speed is still there, and I'd like to see Amir fight again. Obviously better opposition. Greco, was not necessarily the best welterweight prospect out there, but let's not forget that he fought the likes of Sean Porter. He went 10 rounds with Sean Porter. Let's also not forget that Errol Spence Jr. himself, defeated Greco in only 3 rounds. So, Amir Khan, to me, showed, that he's still very much part of that conversation at the welterweight division. And the hand speed, the power, it seems that the repair to his hand, seems to have worked really well, and perhaps we can see a different type of Amir Khan that's able to land power shots very quickly. But, the fight was pretty much over after 40 seconds. The referee did the right thing. Greco would have taken unnecessary punishment, and at that level of boxing, it's not necessary for Greco to consider, having to stop his career quite short, so I think that the referee did, called it very well by stopping the fight too early. I think it was the right thing to do, and we've got to protect boxers in these games. It's a very dangerous sport. But in terms of the aftermath, it was very interesting to see Monsieur Kell Brook was in the ring, of course, wanting to be part of the action. He was one of part of this commentary. And he seemed very, very anxious to talk to Amir Khan. I saw that he wanted to get in there, and some would call it a bit of shade. He was throwing a bit of shade in Amir Khan's way because, he's been chasing his fight for such a long time, and we want, that fight. I certainly want that fight. I think it's a cracking fight. I'd like to see him in a very big venue. Is it quite the stadium fight yet that Dion talks about? I'm not too sure, because certainly there will need to be, some kind of belt involved, some kind of world championship prospect involved. And the fact that Kell Brook, is now moving to 154, Amir Khan fought yesterday at 147. Can Kell Brook do 147? I'm not too sure. He struggles at the weight, against Errol Spence Jr. You could see that he was draining himself to get back to that weight. A catchweight fight would be good if there's no title in place, but I'm just not sure yet that the fight itself warrants a stadium, attendance. But perhaps underneath a good undercard, maybe Joshua undercard, as the fight leading up to the main event could be very good. They will both argue that they're main event attractors themselves, but we leave that to Matchroom and to Eddie Hearn to decide. But overall, welcome back Amir Khan. The king is back. Amir King Khan. It was quite a long time since we saw him fight. I believe that the last fight was against Canelo, where he suffered a devastating knockout, and many of us were anxious to see how he was going to respond. And I think that the response of yesterday evening's fight was certainly what we were expected to see. I know that there was some concern from the Khan camp in terms of Roger Hunter, falling ill, not having the ability to train him. Therefore, Goosen came in, and it seemed that Goosen, his intervention was very good. Khan was able to adapt to it, and it seems that we may well see Goosen take over, perhaps from Virgil Hunter. Who knows? It's up to Khan to decide. Khan has changed his backroom staff before, on many various occasions, and it seems to me that this could be a winning formula for him. But I'd like to certainly see some other fights. I believe that I will do a video about this a bit later, but Khan versus Adrian Broner will be a very good fight. I believe that Khan beats Adrian Broner. I'd like to see that fight also leading up to the mega fight against Kell Brook, if it were to happen. I'd like to see, Amir Khan perhaps contending for the IBF title. I'd like to see Amir Khan fight Keith Thurman. I'd like to see a rematch with Garcia, but at this moment in time, is it worth it? You know, it probably too much risk for Amir Khan than necessary. And you know, the prospects are there. There's some very good fights, you know. Maybe even a Khan Pacquiao fight, if that fight can still be made. You know, that'll be a very good fight. I know that he's been chasing those names for a very long time, and bringing those fights to the UK would be great. You know, if what they're saying is true, if a matchroom are proposing to bring those fights to the UK, it would be good to see that. But you know, do not forget to follow Pep Talk UK. Listen to our podcast every week. You know, on Thursdays with myself, Frankie B, the main man Shaz Mack, and Mike Jr. You know, we bring you the best of entertainment, boxing, and football at grassroots level. You know, and we give you our opinions from all around us, the Pep Talk Boys. You know, je suis Pascal. Follow me on Instagram and Pep Talk UK. Au revoir.